Hello, my name is Suzanna Harvey and I'm one of the international private client partners at Burgess Salmon. I'm joined today by one of my fellow partners in the team, Emma Heelis-Adams, and we are discussing the key issues that clients should consider when contemplating a move to the UK. Our focus for today's discussion is clients from the Middle East, and I'll be asking Emma a number of questions as she spends much of her time advising clients from the region. Emma, if I can start by asking you, are there any particular themes that you see when acting for clients from the Middle East contemplating a move to the UK?
Well, the statistics show that there are an increasing number of clients from the Middle East region, particularly from GCC countries, who are moving to the UK. But overall, those numbers are still fairly low. And for the vast majority of my clients and the scenarios that I see, individuals from the Middle East often have substantial interests in the UK, particularly real estate interests, but they often choose to remain resident outside of the UK. So they will remain resident in their home jurisdiction, and they will spend time in the UK, maybe several weeks a year, a couple of months. But they are quite careful to make sure that they don't spend too much time in the UK so that they become resident here. But one of the issues that I have seen in recent years is that although individuals are aiming to remain non-UK resident, unfortunately, quite a few of them are caught out by the rules in our statutory residence test, which can be fairly complicated to apply. And it means that those individuals become accidentally resident in the UK. And as we know, that can have fairly wide-ranging UK tax implications.
Yes, I mean, we certainly do see clients that have become resident in the UK by accident when they come to us for residence advice. I think that one of the things that catches people out might be our slightly unusual UK tax year, starting as it does on the 6th of April, which is very unusual. And I think that another thing that sometimes people don't realise is that we don't just have a straight day counting test. A lot of other jurisdictions do. And actually our statutory residence test is much more involved than that. Are there any specific factors that you see in practice that result in individuals becoming accidentally resident?
Yeah, there are a couple of issues, and as you've said, the fact that we don't just have a straightforward day counting test, it can be a real issue for people, because the test looks at the number of connecting factors that you have to the UK. And so the more connecting factors that you have, the fewer days that you can spend here without becoming UK resident. And what I've seen for a couple of clients recently are that they actually have more connecting factors to the UK than they've maybe realised. And then that has the knock-on effect that they can't spend as many days here without becoming UK resident. And the key connecting factor that I've seen sort of catching people out is in relation to family in the UK. So if you have close family that is resident in the UK, then that family is a connecting factor for you. And there's two scenarios here. One is if you have a minor child who is resident in the UK, then that child is a connecting factor for you. And there are specific rules about minor children who are in full-time education. And so a certain number of days that those children spend in the UK effectively gets disregarded when looking at the child's residence status. But the rules are fairly strict. And so it's quite easy for a child to spend more time in the UK than is effectively permitted under the rules, and then the child becomes UK resident, and that has a knock-on impact for their parent. And then the other scenario is where you have a married couple, and one half of that married couple spends more time in the UK and becomes UK resident. And then that has a knock-on effect for their spouse, because then the spouse can spend fewer days in the UK, and people don't always realise that that those are the sort of the intricacies of the test and the problems that can arise, and so then you have individuals who aren't allowed to spend as many days in the UK without becoming resident, and then fall down at that point when they're doing their day counting.
So we've discussed a little bit the clients that have become resident by accident without intending to. What about individuals from the Middle East that actually do intend to move to the UK? Are there any particular issues that you've seen there?
Yes, I think the queries that have come across my desk in this respect fall into two broad categories. And the first is GCC nationals who have come to the UK for education purposes, often higher education purposes, and then they decide to remain here afterwards. So as you know, there are very strong links between certain GCC countries and individuals from those countries wanting to come to the UK for university and higher education. And in many cases, those individuals will return to their home nations afterwards. But in some cases, they decide that they want to spend more time in the UK. And the key there is really to consider what's the most appropriate visa for them, because their student visa will come to an end. And you need to consider what does that individual want to do whilst they are remaining in the UK, and how long do they think that they will stay here for. Because there are different visa categories, and once you've chosen one, it can be quite tricky to switch into another one. And so the key here is to think at the outset about what you want to do while you're in the UK and how long you think you're going to be here for. And then the other category of individual is quite different, and that's the category of returning expats. So these are people who are British nationals who've worked out in the Middle East, sometimes for quite a long period of time, and for whatever reason have decided that now is the time to return to the UK. And that might be that they're coming up to retirement, it might be prompted by COVID. And for a lot of those individuals, they will have retained their UK domicile, but they'll have been non-resident for a number of years. And there are still a number of things that individuals in that position can think about in terms of their UK tax planning, particularly thinking about selling assets prior to becoming UK resident, and also looking at trust structures that they might have set up. Because for some clients, they might think that they've lost their UK domicile, and they may well have lost their UK domicile. But if they have a UK domicile of origin, then we now have rules that say if somebody has a UK domicile of origin, was born in the UK, has acquired a domicile of choice elsewhere, and comes back to the UK, they might still not have a UK domicile, but they're treated as a returning domiciliary, which means that there can be adverse tax consequences for them, particularly in relation to structures that they've created. And so for individuals in that position, the key advice here is to take advice far enough in advance of coming back to the UK, ideally in the tax year before becoming UK resident, if not earlier, so that you have time to take the advice, think about what you're going to do, and then fully implement whatever it is that you want to do in the tax year before becoming UK resident, so that then things are in place and ready to go at the point of return to the UK.
Many thanks, Emma. I think that's all we've got time for today's discussion, but I hope everyone listening has found that helpful. For anyone considering a move to the UK, there is a much more detailed guide to moving to the UK on the Burgess Salmon website, along with various other articles and briefings, so please do take a look there. If anyone has any specific queries about anything we've discussed, please do not hesitate to contact me or Emma. Many thanks again for watching.